All right, well, welcome. This is Ohab Shalom in Cathedral City, California. We're going to do a Bible study on the book of Judges, and today is just the intro part of it. So let's go ahead and get started and go ahead and share my screen with you here. And all right, so we have our share going on, and so we're just going to go ahead and go with the book of Judges. All right, book of Judges. We want to go over and we want to read Judges chapter 2, verses 16 and 17. And so I'm just going to come up here and I'm going to go to the Blue Letter Bible and I'm going to read Judges chapter 2, verses 16 and 17. 16 and 17. And we're going to use the New King James Version. There's multiple versions there that you can read. All right, so nevertheless, the Lord raised judges who delivered them out of the hand of those who plundered them. Yet they would not listen to their judges, but they played the harlot with other gods and bowed down to them. They turned quickly from the way in which their fathers walked, in obeying the commands of the Lord. They did not do so. And once you see the bookend, so on one side, this is one end of the bookend. And then if we come up to Judges chapter 17, verse 6, we can see how that continued throughout the book, one which they says, in their days there was no king of Israel, everyone did what was right in his own eyes. And so here we have the bookend, they're turning away from God. On the far end of the bookend, everybody's doing what is right in their own eyes. Lastly, I want you to read over to Judges chapter 11. Judges chapter 11, and we're going to go to verse 27. All right, so therefore I have not sinned against you, but you wrong me by fighting against me. May the Lord, the judge, render judgment this day between the children of Israel and the people of Ammon. So we can see that the Lord is the ultimate judge. He's the supreme judge. And we're here in America, and so I just wanted to draw that attention that our founding fathers thought about the same thing. So when they were creating the Declaration of Independence, if you come down to the bottom of that Declaration of Independence, it says, we therefore, the representatives of the United States of America in General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions. And if you have time, I would encourage you to go down to YouTube and click on this link right here. And
You see that balloon the size of several?
You can check out this video on the Declaration of Independence. So very informative video on that. And I'll just show a little bit of it here so you guys can see who the video looks like, then who it's by.
Hello, my name is Larry Arnn. I'm the president of Hillsdale College, which is honored to be working with the White House to produce these videos in honor of the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, the greatest political document in human history.
Okay, so there you can get a gist of what the video, again, there's the link to that particular video is right there. And I'll put that on our YouTube and our website so you have a link to that information. All right, so some of the sources that we're going to be using throughout today's Bible study and throughout all of our Bible studies is one, since we're doing the book of Judges, here's a book from Ariel, Arnold Frankenbaum's Ariel. This is on the book of Judges and the book of Ruth. There's a commentary from him. I'm also going to be using Constable's notes. And so we'll put a link to Dr. Constable's notes, and he has every single book in the Bible available to you for free. And then so we'll be going to the book of Judges to take a look at the information that he has there. And again, we have all of the Bible books in through Dr. Constable there. In addition to that, we're going to be using the Blue Letter Bible. And then there's some excerpts from The Dying Citizen from Dr. Victor Davis Hanson. That is good information. And there's some videos that I'd encourage you to watch in that regards as well. Okay, so going over to the title, office, and judge as we go through our introduction here. The Shophatim, which is Hebrew for judges, and then judges is just a translation to Latin. And so has three meanings. One is to judge, and then to lead in external affairs, as well as to govern in civil disputes. And so here we're looking at judges, not necessarily in that context, but they're actually being leaders during that time of Joshua all the way until Saul. And so we can see from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 16, verses 18, as well as chapter 17, 8, and 9, these shofet, or these judges, stood by the high priest. And so they acted as the Supreme Court judges and made rules on what is going on. Author, we're going between the time of 1380 BC all the way to 1043, about a span of 300 years. Don't really know who the author is of this book, but the Talmud prescribes it as Samuel as that. And so we're going to stay with Samuel as being the author of this book. And sometime written in the year of 1051 BC and 1004 BC when David captured Jerusalem. And here's a list of judges and when they ruled. And so we have Othniel, 1372 BC to 1334, Ehud, 1316 BC to 1237 BC, and then Shamgar, 1265 BC to 1252 BC, and then Barak and Deborah, 1237 BC, all the way to 1198 BC. Gideon, 1198 BC to 1151 BC. Abimelech, 1151 BC to 1149 BC, and Tola, 1149 BC to 1126. This goes on to Jephthah, 1087 BC to 1081 BC, and then Ibzan, 1081 BC to 1075 BC, and Elon, 1075 BC to 1065 BC, Samson, 1069 before Christ, and then 1049 before Christ, and Abdon, 1065 BC to 1058. And so Eli and Samuel were during this time frame, but it's not during that time frame, but we're not going to be recorded in this book, so they're not going to cover Eli and Samuel. All right, so in a Jewish Bible, we're going to have, it's divided into three parts. There's the Torah, which is the 5 books, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Then we have the prophets, which is the Nevi'im. And so we're dealing with Joshua and the judges. So he's a former prophets we're dealing with here. 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, 1 Kings, and 2 Kings. Then we have the later prophets, all part of that Nevi'im, Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel. And then we have the writings, the Ketuvim, Psalms and Proverbs and Job. So we're dealing with the Nevi'im, the former prophets under the book of Judges. And of course, as Messianic believers, we add to that the Brit Hadashah, which would be the New Testament. All right, so state of Israel, they're in a progressive state. They're going to come back into the promised land under Joshua, and they're supposed to take it over, and it's not happening. So Joshua, they did a great job, but then now that Joshua has passed away, they're becoming in a progressively more chaotic state, drifting further and further away from what's holding them together, which is the Mosaic Law. And so that's kind of the ground. And so Dr. Victor Hansen, he kind of describes it as tribalism. And we know they're divided into the 12 tribes. But when we become tribal, we start drifting away from the things that are holding us together. And in this case, it would be that Mosaic law. And in the United States here, it would be drifting away from being an American citizen and what our founding fathers bound us for that. Okay, so there's a link here at the bottom. I would encourage you to watch that information on tribalism. Very good, and can really shine light onto the chaotic state that what's going on, at least in our country here in the United States, but perhaps in other countries as well. All right, some background history. I mean, we have the Egyptians, and so there's some archaeological evidence that is found regarding these judges. And so here is some information regarding where this information could be found, archaeologically speaking. And so we're not just pulling stuff out of thin air. There's evidence in other countries that support this book. Continuing on, this is some of the gods that were going on during this time. So we're going into the land of Canaanite. And so here's the head of the Canaanite temple. And that's kind of an archaeological evidence that was found there. And here's Asherah. This would be El's wife and the mother of the gods and goddesses of the sea. And then we come here to Baal. So the storm god and god of fertility, dying and rising. And then next, Astarte, also Ashtoreth, which we see throughout the Bible. There's a female fertility goddess and the goddess of love and war, kind of juxtaposed, love and war kind of going side by side there. And then Aneth, which is Baal's sister and wife, go figure that one, goddess of love and war, and she is bloodthirsty. They go through 5 cycles, right? And they call it the 5 R's. And so their rest, that means Israel's obedient. Then there's a sense of rebellion where they start drifting away from the law. Then there's divine judgment that comes on, that's retribution. And then they find out, oh, we're doing wrong. And so we come back to repentance. And so the Lord hears them, and then they're restored. And this judges is raised up during this time to bring the people back to the Lord and to restore them. And then the cycle repeats itself. We could probably see the same thing here in the United States, not to get politically motivated, but we could see when we're going back to the Lord, we're in a period of blessing, and then we drift away and we're in a period of rebellion and retribution. This is focused on Israel. And so here we have these 5 cycles that go through all of the judges. They're going through all 5 of these cycles. All right, so again, it's here's the theme: Israel's struggle, military and spiritually. Israel's supposed to go into the land of Canaan, and they're supposed to take over the land. And so we're going to see that tribalism as they break out into the 12 different tribes. And so they're not doing their part. Some of them did, other ones didn't. And so we're going to dive into that. And we're going to talk about the faithfulness of God. And then we're going to talk about Israel's unfaithfulness and lack of obedience to that Mosaic covenant. As part of Messianic believers, there's one specific part that we have to pay attention to that most denominations do not adhere to or do not pursue, and that would be Israelology, or the study of Israel. And I would encourage you, if you want to know more about Israelology, here is a great book titled Israelology by Dr. Frankenbaum. And so that would explain Israelology very thoroughly, and all the other perspectives that are out there on where different denominations are coming from. So I would encourage you to purchase that book. You can go on to Amazon or go to their website and look at that information there. All right, so that's going to conclude our introduction to the book of Judges. Next time we'll have another video that's going to be over to Israel chapter 1. And I would encourage you, we're going to post all this information on our website. And so if you want to have a Bible study in your house, at your home, feel free to use these resources and have this study, and you can study along with us. Shalom, and God bless you.